And from one very rare bird to one very rare specimen of a tree. This is a jackalberry tree, and while not uncommon, one of this size is very uncommon. In actual fact, finding jackalberry trees of this size outside of the Sabi Sands and outside of the Kruger National Park is virtually unheard of. They are widely collected for the furniture trade and African artifacts. Those big dark wooden hippos that you find next to the road here so often are made from this tree. But that's not really what I wanted to talk about with you. What I really wanted to show you was the fact that this is just a massive specimen of a jackalberry tree, and from this side of the tree looks 100% healthy. It's got these huge buttresses. This is a buttress. This is what the tree uses to stabilize itself when they get really big, and you can see even if I put my arm around this tree, I don't even get halfway around. But all is not what it seems with this tree, to be quite honest. As Via moves around over there, he's going to show you that this tree is sick. It's caught a fungal infection, and usually what happens is there's a branch will break off and some fungus will get into the tree, into the heartwood of the tree through the bark, and will cause rot. And this tree is unfortunately going to be blown over at some point. Have a look at that. More than half the tree is completely rotten. But what that does do is it allows for life to actually thrive. The wood that you're looking at the moment is softened by the fungus, and it allows insects to come and bore inside of it, your shot hole borers and your boring beetles and the larvae of those beetles. And that in turn creates the most amazing little micro ecosystems for things. Just have a look here at what we found. This is a And what that's telling me is that there's a snake of some sort, I'm not quite sure what snake this is, that's busy living inside of these holes, or at least foraging inside of these holes for beetle larvae, which are quite nutritious, to be quite honest with you, and is positively a good tree to hang around at, so that he could get bigger or she could get bigger and shed her skin as she gets a bit too big for her current one. That's what snakes do. Snakes don't stretch into their skin like we do. What happens with them is that when they get to a certain size, they exude oil. It pushes their old skin off. Their new skin develops underneath it. They come out of their old skin and they grow into their new skin as they get a bit bigger. And this time of the year, snakes here will probably be shedding every 6 weeks to about 12 weeks, depending on the species of snake and how active they are. But anyway, that's just this tree. Wanted to show you that. And we're going to carry on going. And just to let Chris Rogue know, Chris, I definitely got your message that Brent and I seem to be in a competition about some butterflies today, and that you would like me to concentrate on some butterflies on the walk. I'll absolutely start looking for some butterflies. Myself and VM has actually started to look for them. They this time of the day, while it's still relatively cool, they're quite easy to spot on walk because they're still sitting on the branches. So we'll keep our eye open for you, and I'll be glad to send you through. We are going to be going through to I've forgotten again. Gee whiz, can you believe it? My memory this morning, I don't know what it must have been for dinner that I've been having. It's definitely been a distraction for me today, but come along. Let's see, we are going to be going through to someone, I'm not too sure who, and we're going to be linking to Scott. That's exactly who we're going to be going through to. So we're going to be linking through to Scott, and we'll catch up with you in a little bit, hopefully with a butterfly for you, Chris Rogue. Bye.
So, what we are looking at here is a lion track. 3 lobes on the back pad, the palm, essentially, of the cats, and 1, 2, 3, 4 toes, heading, as Tebs zooms out, towards the sun. And towards the sun means in an easterly direction. And when we are already on our eastern boundary, that means they have headed in the wrong direction. Terrible news, and that means that we will not be able to follow these tracks. But at least we got to find some. I mean, that was part of the mission this morning, to find lion tracks. That we did. To the wound. Birmingham.
So you've caught us putting on the VR, and now we're going to make Andrew very awkward because he hates the camera. Oh no, I need to undo things. How do I operate this machine? There, that one. There we go. Andrew turning on the visual rig. Say hello, Andrew.
Hello, everybody.
Now we're going to keep the camera on, and I'm going to zoom. Obviously you can see I'm not a camera operator, and I'm operating it from the wrong side. Let's get the focus. There we go. Oh, let's get into Andrew's nostril. There you go. The visual reality rig. So that actually takes a 360 degree view that at a later stage we can look at on the computer, and literally you can choose to look behind me, in front of me, wherever you are. Look at him panicking now that he's on camera. That's right, Shay, we'll take him off camera. He's panicking a little bit. Oh, there we go. Oh, now you've got both of us. He's being very confused. He got very confused by that. He's giving me the evil eye now that he's behind the camera. But let's carry on. And so we were busy actually. So Stef's managed to find a feathered friend on the walk. So let's go have a look at that quickly.
While we were walking through here, we just thought that we'd show you very quickly a Klaas's cuckoo. While you quite often hear them in the bush, they're quite rare to see. What we're looking at is the back of this Klaas's cuckoo. One of the cuckoos that is a brood parasite. All the cuckoos are brood parasites, but onto the weavers around here and are terrorizing weavers. And it's just got one of the most beautiful calls and those iridescent green feathers. Some of the most beautiful feathers I find, at least anyway. VM is doing an heroic effort there of trying to keep the camera still for you at the top of this massive jackalberry. And there we go. Thought we'd show you Klaas's cuckoo. You can take. Going back to Brent. Thanks for joining us. See you in a bit.
So we're back. Andrew panicked so much on camera last time. Nikki and I are now thwarting him. He ran away from putting all the cameras on, but now we've got him back.
Nearly done.
Nearly done. So we couldn't help. We couldn't help ourselves. It's nice to keep it. Look at me. Have you actually got them on now? That was highly enjoyable. The cameramen like to catch us in compromising positions, so it's not often we get the same chance. There we go. And for the new viewers, that is Andrew Francis. He's third best photographer at Juma. He's convinced he's the best, but we let him think that occasionally. But he is by far the best drone commander we have, and he can throw that drone around the sky like no other. He's looking a lot more comfortable behind his camera now. And one thing I'm sure a lot of you didn't actually realize is Andrew is also a guide and has worked as a guide before in a couple of reserves around South Africa. So always useful to have an extra set of ears and eyes on the back of the vehicle. So it looks like some of the other presenters are taking my butterfly challenge seriously. Stef found a butterfly. Unfortunately, it escaped. It flew away. That reminds me, we need to start looking for butterflies. We're actually coming up onto an area that's very good for butterflies. And with a little bit of rain we've had a whole burst of wildflowers. So lots of butterflies on those wildflowers. And we even saw that crimson speckled moth yesterday on a pink bell or Hymania. So if we don't find any lion or leopard tracks inside the Juma Warathusa this morning, we can definitely do quite a few butterflies. I think I'm up to 10 species. That's including the unknown butterfly that we found on yesterday's sunset safari that I'm waiting for an ID on. But we can definitely do some wildflowers. I know quite a few of you out there love the wildflowers, and we can also carry on with a bit of the bush pharmacy. Shell and Marla have commented on the fact that we managed to catch the effervescent Andrew Francis on camera today. And Shell says, "Andrew, nice to see you." Andrew, I expect a response. There we go. There's his response. No words, just a waving hand. And Marla says, "Oh, Andrew's a cutie patootie." I think Andrew's blushing, but I can't actually see behind his fly buff. Cutie patootie. I pulled my earpiece out. I'm finding this so enjoyable. Oh, I can't hear anything. I can hear now again. Okay, so we're looking for... This is on these fire breaks like we have here. The grass is quite short and the soil's a little bit disturbed. A lot of the flower species and butterfly species really like this type of ground. That's why quarantine is so good for flowers and butterflies. We will be checking carefully. I actually saw some of the first sesame flowers of the year, so I will be keeping a check out for those. There we go. I think there's a nice little flower. Ooh, and it's one of them. I can pretty much only tell you the family. But I'm going to go get this flower and we'll come back and have a look at it. But in the meantime, from possibly the smallest, tiniest little flower at Juma to the biggest animal present.
Not the best views for... Oh, but now it's changing. Perfect timing. Alicia, I see him a little bit worked up, hustling through the bush. I'm not too sure why, but they seem like they've got a little bit of a spring in their step this morning. I'm just going to roll forward a few meters to try and get into a good spot as the rest of the small herd seem to be moving in a southerly direction. So if we wait for them on this road, hopefully we'll get a few more flybys. There's two youngsters that I've noticed playing with one another just up ahead here. So let's see if they don't continue. And what may happen is they might try to decide to play with us. Hello to Debbie on Twitter, and you would like to know what is my favorite time of day to view animals. Well, depending on the quality of the sighting, I'll be happy to view animals at any stage of the day. Oh, here it comes. Hello. The youngsters can be quite playful. See how it's wagging its tail from side to side there. And here they go. It looks like they're going to have a bit of a clash. It's very thick, but there's another one approaching it. And they were having a bit of a battle earlier. Head to head, pushing one another around. All very playful though, and they're very young. So good practice for when they become old and have got more serious fights to deal with. Look at the tail out. It's always a sign of an elephant that you should steer clear of or give space. I mean, in this case, again, like I said, they're youngsters, so we don't have to read too much into their body language, but it's very similar body language to what we would expect to see from an unhappy parent. Sorry, back to the question though. My favorite time of the day to be on safari is definitely first thing in the morning at sunrise. For me, the morning is more exciting than the afternoon because there's more unknown than there is in the afternoon. There's always unknown when you're on safari in terms of what you may find or what may be going on. But for me, that gap of the night, the cover of darkness, usually provides the animals with time and cool weather, especially the predators, to move great distances. And that's why when you wake up first thing in the morning, you can often be very, very pleasantly surprised. You're less likely to find drastic changes in the afternoon. That's not to say, though, that you can't have incredible sightings at any time of the day. And I would take quality of sighting as opposed to weather conditions or time of day at any stage. So if it's lions hunting buffalo, I don't mind if it's in the middle of the day, the middle of the night, in the snow. At any stage. The signal on Wendy is terrible. Anyway, hopefully the signal will improve and then I can continue chatting with you, Teresa. Sorry, Teresa, never easy trying to chat with you guys when you can't hear me clearly. But yeah, my favorite time to go out on safari probably would be the morning, that is fair to say. But it's important to remember that anything could happen at any stage, middle of the day, middle of the night. Oh, massive chocolate cake in the road. Look at that, freshly baked. Hard to believe that elephants are so skilled at cooking. Very well done, elephants. Thank you for leaving us a present in the road. Now they can bake a cake like that about flying out the oven. That's how much they feed on. Imagine the total amounts of vegetable matter that island after it. Incredible stuff. Hello to John in California. Sadly, John, we don't have any updates on the junior. Brent may know differently, and he is closer to our eastern boundary, so hopefully he might be able to get a hold of the Arathusa and Sibambili guides, but the Nkuhuma Pride was further to our west when they were last seen, and I can't remember exactly when that was. I think it was about 4 or 5 days ago. They were kind of heading back towards Djuma from the west, but properties are all traversed quite a lot. That they would ever be on Djuma without us.
All right. I see Scott's signal is not playing with us. He's got some signal gremlins, which is okay because Wiem and I have been looking at a foraging party of trapjaw ant, and they have to be one of my favorite ants of all time. Viem's going to try and show you there the ant that you got over there in your screen, and you'll notice that they've got very long jaws. And these ants are voracious. Those of you who joined us early this morning, you would have seen the harvested termites that we had in shot for you this morning. These guys are voracious predators of harvested termites. They forage through the grass like you're watching at the moment, looking. Get to the termites. They have these massive jaws, these long jaws that they actually open to past, almost like a recurved bow, or a compound, sorry, not a recurved bow, a compound bow. They're on a fulcrum, and when it reaches past a certain point, they lock, and as they touch the termite, these jaws smash closed, and they injure the termite so badly that the termite is stunned, quite often killed. And that, for the ant, is beneficial, because what it does mean is that the termite can't attack the ant. Termites have massive jaws as well. They've also defended by soldiers, and these ants don't want to be injured by that. So what you get is this mechanical movement, bashes closed with the jaws. And let's see if we find them. We might have to stand up and go and have a look over here somewhere. Let me see if I can find them for you. We're going to try and find them for you. This foraging party has slowly moved on. It consisted of about 6 or 7 individuals working a termite colony here. It's amazing how these guys just disappear into the bush. You know, I look for them as often as what I can, and now, here's one here. Now let's see if we can show you. Here we go, they're all walking through here. In my hands, you may or may not get a view of that. Look at them a bit later. There's a lot of information. A lot of information. You can see pictures, but for now we're going to be sending you through to Brent. I'm sure he's got something really exciting to show you, and we'll catch up with you in a little bit.
So it seems like the gremlins are infecting Scott and Stef, so we do apologize for that. Andrew and I are in such high spirits that the gremlins are staying away, and I will throw my water on them if they come any closer. So we've decided to cross into Arethusa, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, because I haven't been here for a while. Secondly, is that area around the airstrip is going to be really good for flowers and butterflies, and strangely enough, I managed to jinx myself with this little flower here, and I actually don't know what it is, which is actually awesome, because it means I get to go research and find out what it is. So I'm very excited about that. So not knowing something is actually a good thing, because it gives you a chance to increase your knowledge and find out something new, which I get very excited about. So we're also driving through a section of Arethusa we don't normally do. We're going right down Arethusa's eastern boundary. We normally turn in behind us there, and this takes us out to the southern end of the airstrip. So there's also this block behind me here has no roads in it. So there's always a possibility that Shadow or Tingana could be there. And no one has checked across the road to see if tracks are going. It's very seldom driven outside of an entrance road. So a lot of the entrance roads people drive down quite quickly and don't look for tracks. But I'm feeling lucky. Very interesting, this flower I'm holding here. The leaves are almost like sandpaper. So hopefully that'll help with the diagnosis. Or sorry, the identification. Diagnosis is wrong. And also, hopefully we should find some piggies on the Arethusa airstrip. Go check in to see if the foam nest frog, because that was the first foam nest frog I've seen this year, has possibly hatched already. Clouds have disappeared and the sun is bright and up. Time to put my hat on to avoid sunburn. a lot of animals out here are looking a bit on the thin side. Obviously, even though it is so green around us, we are in one of the worst droughts for the last 15, 20 years. And all the water holes are dry. And earlier on the drive, we saw a very strange animal by the name of Andrew Francis fiddling with the virtual reality in front. And Michael S. says, Andrew seems thinner. He would like to know whether Andrew's lost condition during the drought. I don't think that's got anything to do with the drought. I think it's got to do with us chasing after him with sticks. We decided he was a bit slow for bushwalk, so we've been training him in case something goes wrong. No, I'm only playing. We're gonna go see Scotty, who's at Buffalo's Hook, and see what's happening there while we make our way towards the Arethusa airstrip.
Now, possibly a reason why Andrew is looking a little bit worse for wear is that this is where he does the majority of his drinking. And as you can see, there's not much water for him here. And it's also quite muddy and murky and full of dead fish, so can't be too hard on him, but well done for noticing that Andrew has lost condition. Most things out here are losing condition, including this water hole. It got filled up by a decent downpour of rain we got about a week and a half ago, but it's already beginning to evaporate. And desperate times for the animals of this area. Good for some though, which is always important to remember. Hard times for some animals will always be times of plenty for others, and for the aquatic little birds that are running around feeding on the little bits of water that remain here, it'll be quite easy for them to cover a lot of ground and probably find a lot of insects to feed on, whereas the fish that live in the water, for example, obviously they haven't been so fortunate, but certain animals will benefit from drought conditions, mainly the predatorial animals. There's a blacksmith lapwing, busy hunting on cue. And there are a few other tiny little plovers, a close relative of the lapwing, also running around earlier. You may see them somewhere. Tiny little birds called three-banded plovers. There they are, Tebs has found them. And as you can see, they're having a jolly good morning. Obviously they're minute and the zoom can only take us so far, so we can't see exactly how much fun they're having and exactly what they're feeding on. Lots of also bird song here, singing out, woodlands kingfishers, red-billed buffalo weavers above us. Now Julia in Houston has obviously been doing her homework, and she has asked whether we get any pitta birds here in the Sabi Sands, and sadly we don't get any of the pittas here. I've never seen a pitta in my life, but what I'm going to do is get out my little bird app and find one for you and to show everyone. They're incredibly pretty birds and very rare, the African pitta. Now there is a chance of seeing them here, but like I said, I've never seen one, and what I'll do is I will show you their kind of distribution map. Oh, there's a little laughing dove, and I'm ready with my little bird app to show you what's what. This is the African pitta. Very, very cool bird. I've never laid eyes on one. They are very secretive and often live in thick bush and move along the ground. And I'm just going to scroll through. You do get them along the whole eastern edge of South Africa. We are positioned about, let me find a little something to point with. There should be a little stick or something in here. There we go. Not really. We'll get there eventually. But basically, the whole eastern edge of South Africa does provide a potential home to the pitters. We are situated up over here. This country here is Mozambique, so that can be a little bit deceiving. This is Zimbabwe up here, and we are currently situated in this little corner of South Africa over here. There's a landlocked country, Swaziland, here, and this is where this intra-African migrant bird will be in our summer months. You can see over here the summer months are the main months that we will see them, and I'm just going to keep scrolling through to give you an idea of how pretty they are. Look at those colors. Absolutely awesome. So Julia in Houston, thank you very much for alerting us to the beautiful bird that is a pitter. They used to be called an Angolan pitter. Now the African pitter. There is a chance we could bump into one. I've never heard of anyone seeing one in the Sabi Sands though. It'll be interesting to hear if Brent has seen one before in his intrepid travels, or even Stef, but there are not many people I know that have seen that bird. Julia, how on earth did you find out about the pitter? Please let us know. Now, we're going to continue moving, and because the signal on Wendy is so poor this morning, you will probably lose our signal, but before that happens, I'm guessing Nikki will send you across to either Stef or Brent. And Stef will be receiving you on a bushwalk. Enjoy.
Have a look at this amazing flower that we've managed to find. It is just so super delicate, and it's going to actually be quite tough for me to show you what exactly is it, but there are the pollen. That's the male part of the flower. That's the female part of the flower, and here is where the nectar is housed. So what I've been busy battling with is to find out how this plant is enticing insects to come and obviously get the nectar that is available inside of the flower, the prize, but at the same time manage to dust the abdomen of the insect with pollen, and then when the pollen has been dusted onto the insect, another insect coming from a different flower, getting the pollen into that female receptacle. So the two terminologies are stigma and style, and this is just phenomenal. It's quite a common little plant. This is an Ocimum canum, but it's the first time that I've actually had a chance to have a close look at its flowers. And just have a look at those colors and how super delicate. I mean, this is my baby finger, and the flower is 20% of my nail of my baby finger, which is tiny. And here we've got on this side, we've got one that is unfurling at the moment. So this one here is coming up. If any of you have any idea as to what could possibly be pollinating this? It's obviously a flying insect of some sort. The insect is being enticed to the gift, or the pollen on the flower here would come in and get dusted, would fly in and get dusted by the pollen. As you see, the bottom of my finger getting dusted there by the pollen, would then fly off and fly to another flower to come and get some more nectar, and would then touch the female part, as you can see there on the way in. Maybe that's exactly how it does it, is it offers the male parts first, and then the female part of the flower unfurls to that. So we've got all three stages. We've got opening, we have got male parts of the flower being ready, and we have got female parts of the flower being ready. And that's how plants avoid actually pollinating themselves, is that they offer up the male and the female parts of the flower at slightly different times, so that it's not pollinated by its own pollen, and that way avoids inbreeding. Even it's just a way to keep the genetic pool diverse and keep the plants quite strong. Now, I hear that you've been asking Scott about a pitter, and that Scott hasn't seen a pitter, and neither have I. The Angolan pitter is a very rare species of bird for us us here in South Africa to see. I'm actually not sure that anybody that I know has actually seen one. I'm sure if you go and look somewhere, you'll find it. South Africa is home to some very, very exclusive birding spots, and at these birding spots, you get these most amazing bird guides that have come to know these animals intimately. And quite often, even in the areas that you're from, you'll be able to find rare bird spots and find a specialist in that area that can go and take you to show you these rare birds, and in so doing help expose you to the natural environment and little flowers like this that are a puzzle for me. I'm going to put this guy back. It had 2 ants, and the ants are now going to be going back to the plant that they came from and obviously carrying on, and we're going to carry on looking for some more interesting stuff. Tammy has noticed that while we're busy walking around here in the wilderness, you'll see many different types of trees. And firstly, good morning, Tammy, and secondly, they can be quite overwhelming, but you can get to know them. In the Kruger National Park, as far as I understand, there are about 260, well, not in the Kruger Park, sorry, in the Sabi Sands, 260 to 270 species of trees. That's not including grasses and shrubs. So as far as I know, it's about 260, 270 species of trees, and they're all enclosed in a very awesome book called Trees and Shrubs of the Kruger National Park. Quite an interesting book to read, and something that is still baffling me is to try and determine which of the keys to use, because there's about 20 inside this book. But anyway, we're going to go back to Brent. He's got something exciting to show you. Viam and I are going to carry on making our way up onto the crest, and hopefully we get something to show you in a little bit.
Hello! Well, I decided to take my bird book and binoculars, have 5 minutes, do a little bit of birding up there in the air. But I'm going to come down now. I'm very disappointed no one had coffee and cookies waiting for me up there. It's very, very pleasant being up in the air, looking for birds. Also, nice high vantage point to look for cats, possibly. Unfortunately, no cats, but lots of birds. I'm going to go have a look at some of them I spotted from up there now. So a nice big flock of wattled starlings heading down the airstrip. But before we head down there, there's the first foam nest frog of the season that I saw. And from what I could see through the binoculars, it looks like it's hatched. And Andrew was trying to convince me to climb up the tree to look at it. Unfortunately for Andrew, I know that particular knobthorn is very dead. And if I happen to, I think, even ascend the main branch, I would end up in the water, which would make Andrew very happy, but me not so much. It's going to be better from the opposite side. So very interesting, we can see a foam nest that's hatched and a new foam nest as well. So if we look, there we go, on that branch closest to us. Okay, so there we go. On the left-hand side, we have foam nest that's hatched, and you can see it's sort of gone quite a dirty brown and collapsed almost. So those tadpoles have already dropped into the water. And then on the right is a new foam nest. So the tadpoles will still be encased in that one. And a foam nest frog, or a grey tree frog, is another name for it. And they're very, very cool. And one of the more common frog species we get, and you often find them all around human habitation. And above, we have some hatched foam nests that have been sharing their nesting site with red-billed buffalo weavers. And you can see the little buffalo weaver there. We have a particularly, I wouldn't say irritating, but the noise they make when they're mating is quite irritating. And every single day in the Jackalberry at the house where Jamie, myself, and Scott and Nikki live, next to the swimming pool, it seems to be lover's lane for red-billed buffalo weavers. And they are constantly making a noise in that particular tree. Look at that, it's busy adding some more thorns to the nest. So buffalo weavers are communal nesters, and they create this amazing thorny fortress. It makes it more difficult for snakes and predatory birds to get at the babies. So this is what is Andrew spotted? I didn't see. What have you seen, Andrew? A dragonfly. Andrew's challenging himself. I haven't even made him chase butterflies, and he's trying to chase a dragonfly. So that's what the foam nest frog looks like. It is a tree frog. There we go. And although we very seldom see them, that is what a tadpole looks like. So it's got to get to about this age before it will... the shadows, sorry. Try find... There we go. Find it. That's about the age when they'll drop out of those nests into the water. Stenbok running, I'm not sure why. I think it's just running for the sake of running, but there were impala there earlier. Hello, little Stenbok. Little male. No, he looks like he's fine now. But while we continue on our mission, the wind's picked up, which is not good for butterflies, but we will still carry on looking for them. Andrew's again hunting for dragonflies. I forgot to bring my stick to keep him under control today. But I did see a flock of wattled starlings fly down towards the northwestern side of the airstrip, so we're going to go have a look there. But while we do that, we've got a question from Catherine in Melbourne. She says, thanks for the drives, guys. It's our pleasure. We love doing it. And so seeing if I can spot a terrapin. Also these mud wallows when it's a bit warmer, probably it's a bit early now, really great for butterflies as they come to drink the moisture next to the pans. And oh, look at the wattle starlings. Quickly, Andrew. Quick. Faster, Andrew. There you go. Another flock of wattled starlings flying over. Nice, Andrew. Well done. Bit easier than a dragonfly. Where did they go?
They're on the ground now.
They're on the ground. That's what we're hoping for. So we can have a look at those males and breeding plumage, and they're really, really impressive at the moment. So, Catherine, back to your question. Catherine is in Melbourne. I wonder if you go to the MCC, Catherine. And Catherine's wondering how big is Djuma and Arathusa and the total Sabi Sands Reserve in the areas we work in. We always think we need more land, but hopefully it's on its way. Ooh, they're the wattle starlings. So, Catherine, it's 1,600 hectares that we can traverse on, which is just over 3,000 acres, 16 kilometers squared. The Sabi Sands Reserve itself is 60,000 hectares or 60 kilometers squared. Before we get a bit too close, we're just going to get a safety of these wattled starlings. And there we go. Look at them foraging through. And you can see the males with the black and yellow wattles on their faces. And hopefully they're going to let us get a little bit closer. Catherine and I will carry on with sizes of where we are shortly. Let's have a look at these starlings while they're here. Don't fly away, little starlings. So we are sneaking. We should be close enough to get a nice view of one of the males. Now, if we don't, I'll snap her. picture of one of them and we can have a look at it on the camera. There we go, but you can see that. There we go, you can see, look at that. So that black and yellow wattle, and the black is the wattle, it actually dangles below the male's neck there, disappears during the non-breeding season. And also, you don't see that many big flocks during the non-breeding season, but at this time of the year, I mean, we can get some monster flocks of them. Let's try get a little bit closer. We will use diversionary tactics, pretend we're driving away from them, but slowly sneaking closer. Let's see if they fall for it like the ellies. Birds tend to be a bit more difficult, but we shall try. Andrew, you tell me. Oh no, they're being too cool for school. We might get them in the tree. That's easier because they're not hopping about so much. There's some on the ground. There's a male directly opposite us now on the ground. Oh, pandemonium. Off everyone goes. One lapwing destroys it for everyone else. I'm just trying to see. There we go. How's the glare, Andrew?
A little bit in the sun would be good.
A little bit in the sun. So there we can see that very distinct wattle. I'm trying to think, what if I do? No? There we go, you can see that very black and yellow wattle, and that wattle actually wobbles and hangs below. And that's a male wattled starling. Hopefully we will be able to get a better view of them later. I think being a bit windy sometimes causes them to be a bit nervous. So, Catherine, back to your question. So, as I said, the whole Sabi Sands is 60,000 hectares, made up of numerous different properties. So, 60 kilometers squared. Yes. And the Greater Kruger National Park, which includes the Sabi Sands, the Timbavati, the Manyaleti, the Imbabat, the Traceri, the Olifants, the Baluli, am I missing any? The Taba, the Kuyu is around 2.4 million hectares, so around 5 million acres. And then if you include the transfrontier parks in Mozambique and Zimbabwe, we're looking at just under 3 million hectares, so around 8 million acres. Isn't that incredible? And none of that is fenced, and animals are able to move between all these areas. Unfortunately, or fortunately for the animals, human boundaries don't adhere to them, but unfortunately they do for us. And if we have a quick look over this vista here on the other side of the airstrip, I'm going to quote Hemingway, but I'm going to have to do a bleep quote because there's a bad word in it. And as Ernest Hemingway said when his first trip to Africa, he sat atop a hill and went, my God, there's just miles and miles of bleep Africa. And that's the way we like it, aren't you? One of my favorite books on Africa that is not a factual book is by Ernest Hemingway. It's called The Green, Green Hills of Africa. An absolutely wonderful piece of literature. So as we said, we're in quite a drought at the moment, and a lot of the water holes are very low, and at this time of year, normally all those little mud wallows are completely full, and there's only a few of them that are at the moment. And deer saying, well, it looks like we actually did tsunami to fill all of them. Not quite deer. We'd probably need about 100 mils in one sitting to fill them. And we haven't had any of those big storms yet this year, and it's unlikely that we're going to. And then Mokan, who's in Guyana, says, what happens to all the catfish? Well, some of them die, but some of them will actually encase themselves in the mud. So underneath there's still moisture, and they will exude a mucus that forms a sort of protective cocoon around them, and the catfish are able to breathe air. So they will almost go into a sort of a type of hibernation where they will breathe air and stay in this little mud cocoon that's formed with mucus that they exude from their bodies. They will leave a little breathing hole though, so they can't breathe. So, Mokan's also just said here's, Scott's already shown you a picture of the pitta in the book, so I won't do that again. We have two different species of pitta in Africa. The African pitta, which is the one more common, neither of them are common. And Stef and Scott haven't seen one, but I have. I was very lucky where I worked in Tanzania. They actually used to migrate through from their breeding grounds on the coast up into the mountains during the summer months, and my camp was actually a stopover, so I'd actually had 5 or 6 of them for a couple of days in and around my tent where I used to live in southern Tanzania. And then I saw the other pitta species, which is a green pitta, or maybe I will have to get the book out after all. Well, I'll find it for when we come back, but I will show you that, and I've seen that in Gabon, in Central Africa. So apparently I'm allowed to show you. I have time. Let's have a look quickly. But they are incredibly beautiful birds, and strangely enough, a very, very good friend of mine who actually saw his first pitta in Zambia yesterday, and he put a video of it calling, and I will share that for those who want to have a look at a pitta. And of course, now I'm panicking again with the book. Unfortunately, fixing my book, I can't see the number because I've duct taped my book together, and it's just, there we go, covered the number. I'll get it now. There we go. I was in the right area. Thought I was. There we go. Green-breasted, that's the other one. So there we go. There's the African pitta. Really beautiful bird. So not only are they quite rare, but they're quite difficult to see because they sit inside thickets. And then the green-breasted pitta is the other pitta, and I'm fortunate that I've actually seen both pitta species in Africa. But speaking about rare birds, this is the one that plagues me. I've been looking for it before. It's called an African green, or a Grower's broadbill, and it only lives in a set of mountains on the border of Uganda and Congo. And I've been there twice looking for that bird, and I have not managed to succeed yet. But there's always next year. So we're going to make our way down towards the Arathusa waterhole, see what the hippopotami are up to, and what else might be on the open area. This wind is keeping the butterflies at bay. Hopefully as it gets a bit warmer, they'll get a bit more active. So we're driving past the entrance to the Arathusa Lodge, and some of our lucky viewers have been on safari there. Sorry, Andrew. I always forget about these large bumps around Arathusa. Too busy scouring the bushveld for butterflies and leopards. We're about 30 seconds from arriving at the waterhole. So let's have a quick look what's happening there. There we go. Round the corner. What could there be? Could there be an elephant? Could there be a hippopotamus? What is that? That is a stump. Wow, you can see how low the water is at the moment. Mindan! Sharpenful! Morning greetings to the Arathusa Lodge staff who are busy prepping and preening and making the lodge beautiful for the guests while they're on game drive. But you can see how low the water is, and hiding in amongst the aquatic vegetation here are some hippos. That particular hippo is using the other's back as a rest. You can hear the lawnmower going behind us, so we're not going to spend too long here. But isn't that cute? And there's a little baby off to the right with mom. And look at that, just the nostril appearing out of the green morass. And they've obviously had a busy night foraging and now napping away. And you can see that used to be an island not that long ago, and it's now very much mainland country. So we're going to keep... Oh, what's it? Oh, Andrew's found another hippo with oxpeckers using it as a bar. Ooh, so we're going to go across to Scotty, who's got something of the feeled variety, or the leavings of the feeled variety.
Now, it's not very clear, and that's because the sun is quite high above us and not casting a shadow from the side. But over here, we have a leopard track. It's a male leopard track, the pad at the back that my finger's covering now, and then the toes in the front. I can tell that it's a male leopard from its size. It is in the central parts of Djuma, not on one of our boundaries, so we are in luck. And now we need to start the process of following these footprints, which are heading straight up towards the quarantine clearings. We're probably about half a mile away from the quarantine clearings, and we are going to continue following the tracks of this male leopard, which is exciting stuff. Not sure who it could be. Either Tingana Mvula or possibly Kunyuma, a young male who frequents this area. One of you was wanting to know how old will leopards live for, and that was Heidi, all the way in Oregon. And anywhere between 15 and 20 years would be a good innings for a leopard in the wild. Some live for slightly older than 20, and some obviously die when they're only a few weeks old. But a good adult life would be anywhere from 15 to 20 years of age. The tracks now continue straight. I've been driving very slowly. He could have veered off down the road that went to the left, but he is continuing. Yep. Oh, he's a big male. He's got nice big feet. Down into Philemon's Dip. Now, I did actually drive here this morning, but it was very early, and maybe I missed the tracks. Certainly possible. What I'm going to do, though, is really focus on trying to find out what he does. This is going to be a tricky area up ahead here, but the good news is Stef has found another predator on bushwalk. Enjoy.
Isn't that exciting that you've got Scott following up on some male leopard tracks for you this morning? I mean, he's heading away from us, unfortunately, so I'd like to say that we could give him a hand in the area being on foot, but myself and Viam are probably about 3 or 4 miles away from where Scott is at the moment. But we did find another predator to show you. Actually, quite an amazing predator, in actual fact. For those of you who have been following the show for a while, you would notice that about A month or so ago, we started to see these spiders for the first time. This is a garden orb spider, and the orbs are just the most phenomenally beautiful spiders. You can have a look at her. There's my finger, give you an idea of how big she is, sitting in the middle of her web. She's quite brightly colored, and that's as a warning to birds predominantly, saying to her that she's distasteful. She's not a dangerous spider for us humans at all. In actual fact, if we got bitten by her, she wouldn't do too much to us at all. But the orb-web spiders are found around the world, and in actual fact there we go, yes, she just caught a fly. Look at that, got it. So one of the flies that have been plaguing myself and VM all morning, she's just managed to catch. And my appreciation for these spiders have just gone up 100-fold. As you would know, I am absolutely plagued by flies and I don't like them whatsoever, and she's just managed to catch one that's been buzzing around one of us. Have a look at that. So she would have caught it using her fangs. She would have injected venom into the fly, which would have immediately immobilized it. The spider's venom is actually keyed to the insects that they like to catch the most. And now what she'd be doing is she'd just be using her chelicerae and her fangs to munch up the fly into a bit of a goo, and then she'd be sucking it up. Have a look at that. Isn't that wonderful? Using her pedipalps, which are those, they look like tiny legs. Those are her hands that she feeds her mouth with. You might be able to see her fangs busy working into the fly, and then underneath that, her mouth is actually called chelicerae. There's another fly actually, look at that. She's going to catch another one. She can sense something in her web. And there's another fly right there. It's not moving at the moment. I think that fly's being very clever, very cautious. I think the fly's a bit stuck. It's trying ever so slightly to release itself from the web. But have a look at that. Feeding with her chelicerae or her pedipalps, working the fly into a goo, sucking it into her abdomen. What a fantastic breakfast. There, she's definitely feeling a fly. You see how she's pulling on her web now? She's returned to her original position, which is in the center of the web, keeping her 8 legs, she's got 4 on each side, touching various strands, these radial strands that you can see radiating out to the edges of the web, are what she gets transferred a message from the prey animal to her body, and she reacts instantly. As you would have seen, that fly had barely even touched the web and she was on it. You also notice that these scribbly white silk that you're seeing above and below her, that's called the stabilimentum. They call it cribellate silk. It's actually a silk that has got a very high tensile strength, and it acts as 2 things. One, it acts as a visual marker so that larger animals, birds and insects don't fly into the web and cause her to have to rebuild this massively intricate web. And 2, it adds a tensile strength to the web. It allows the web to absorb a bigger shock, and therefore she can catch bigger insects in the web. Isn't that amazing? Now the orb-web spiders, they produce all 7 kinds of silk that spiders produce. Spiders only produce 7 different kinds of silk, but they can mix those 7 different kinds in a multitude of different mixtures. But what I wanted to show you in closing before we go back to Scott is the fact that there's this anchor point here. Have a look at how intricate that anchor point is. Just give you an idea of how strong this web is. Have a look at how many attachment points are on this piece of grass. That's the anchor for this web. She'll have 3 of these points. Have a look, we've got a grasshopper stuck here. She's going to kill again. There we go. Wow, she's a lucky girl today. This one's a bit bigger, so she's first going to immobilize it with silk. And you can see she's then going to bite it. So first immobilizing it, then she bites it. There, she's biting it now. There we go. And she's injected its weapon. And now she's using a different kind of silk. You can see the silk coming, streaming out of her spinnerets, immobilizing the prey. And let's see if she then bites it again. There, now she's injected her venom into the, and what she'll do is let's see if she takes it out. No, she's not going to take it out. She's just going to leave it right there. What is she doing? Spiders are known to larder food, and because she's just had a fly, you might find that she's not hungry at the moment, and she will keep that morsel for later. So what she's done is she's just given herself some lunch. So all in one show, one small segment, she's managed to have breakfast, sort herself out a tea time snack, and basically on that note, I think it's time to send you back to Scott. We'll see if she catches anything else. See you in a little bit.
So still on the trail of this big male leopard. Sounds like you guys have been having an incredible sightseeing with Stef. I must say I am quite jealous. I'm just trying to update the guys on the radio on these tracks so we can try and get more people to help us here. So give me a moment. Go ahead, Andrew. Andrew, we don't have trackers and we've got a very small property, so if we don't follow any track that is on our property, we will not see any animals. So yes, I am following. The tracks are now at the top of Philemon's dip. I've just lost them, but they've been heading up towards quarantine from the pump house. Okay, we're going to send you across to Brent. I need to focus on these tracks and try and get more people into this area to give us a hand too. So we'll see you later.
So, time to challenge the cameraman. I'm actually going to change camera lenses because this butterfly we found is so relaxed I might be able to use my macro lens. So Andrew's going to pop onto that butterfly now, and I'm going to get my macro lens out. And this is specially made for insects and other tiny things. You can see there, it is one of the little blues, and it's got this incredible turquoise on the inside, but it's still early in the morning. That's why sometimes finding butterflies at this time of the day is good, because of the dew and stuff like that, they're not too mobile yet. But this guy's letting me get so close, and I'm going to try my little 100mm macro. The sun's just coming out, so maybe he'll dry before I get to him. Oh, and the wind's blowing him. Yeah, I'm just changing the setting here. You can see it. Absolutely stunning. What I am going to do is I might disturb him just so we can try get a shot of what he looks like on the inside. Just need to get my focus right before I do it. So finicky, this macro focus.
Ollie.
Can you see that blue?
Ollie, see you go now.
And he's landed again with that exquisite blue on the inside. Really nice little bug. So, as we found out yesterday, quite often with these butterflies, A lot of them aren't
corner.
There's a lot of them are very, very similar. Maybe I got a splash of color there. But with the blues, they look... Oh, sorry, the OFE's a game drive radio is making lots of noise. Just turn it off for a bit. And I didn't manage to catch the flash. But so with these butterflies, a lot of the ID is actually, because they look so similar on the inside, is actually the outside. And the different markings on the outside of them. So I'm just going to grab, there it is, to show you what I'm talking about. I'm not going to take you through trying to ID this butterfly with me. I'll try to do it while we're off air. So a lot of the color schemes on them are very, very similar. And it's the outside of them, the underside, so to speak, that is how you tell the difference. And there's the difference between a male and female of the same species on the underside. And so we will have a look carefully, but not right now. Okay, so there is a report that they lost the Anderson male leopard in this area last night. So apart from the butterfly, he's also got spots. We're looking for a different type of spots. And so we're just going to check carefully out. It is very close to our western boundary in Arethusa. So hopefully he's managed to catch something without leaving. So we're looking for tracks shortly. I have been looking at some comparisons of the Anderson male and the Campan male, who was the biggest leopard, and photographs from about the same age. And I've always been a staunch Campan defender, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to admit Anderson is bigger. I will put up a photograph with both of them, so you guys can make up your own mind. But I do think the Anderson male is a larger male leopard than Campan, so I can comfortably say now, in my humble opinion, that the Anderson male is the largest leopard I've ever seen. So while we're having a peruse around here for the male leopard, I know Scotty's following up on really fresh tracks as well, so fingers crossed that one of us come right, is the fact that the D-man would like to know, do they chase laser pointers like domestic cats and dogs do? I've never tried. I think they would, and that's one of the reasons we use green laser pointers. The way their eyes work, the spectrum, they don't pick up on that. So if we are using a laser pointer in the bush, we use the green one. But the red one, I would suspect they would chase it similarly to a domestic cat. No tracks coming out. So he moved into this drainage system off here to the south. So while we're searching, Josh from Missouri, hi Josh, like to know what's my favorite animal encounter. Josh, that is possibly one of the most difficult questions. I've had so many incredible animal encounters over my years in the bush, so let's try keep it down to my time at SafariLIVE. And I'd say my top three, one is with my favorite animal, which is wild dogs, and it was the wild dogs and elephant encounter we had at Treehouse Waterhole, with them chasing each other up and down and around. And then another one would definitely be when Kunyuma, a male leopard, stalked up to a sleeping buffalo and smacked him on the bum for absolutely no reason, and then climbed up a tree and just sort of sat there going, hissing at him. And we think. And of course, with Andrew, the Nkuhuma pride taking down a buffalo right in front of our eyes. And then many more, but I just say those probably off the top of my head are my top 3. So we are hoping not to find leopards that would have departed our area. That's not good. It's very difficult to see because of the sand, but those are leopard tracks leaving our traverse area. So I'm going to turn around. Not that one, Andrew. That one. So we're going to turn around and keep moving up the Marikeni. It's possible that this leopard would have trained and gone up this creek bed. Turn around. If we carry on that way, we stick on the boundary and actually go close to our southern boundary as well. But while we move along, Monkey Man, I've said before, there's a very interesting Twitter handle you have there. Would like to know what do I take on drive with me. One of the most important things I take on drive with me is water and sun cream, binoculars, and of course my camera with I think I've got about 6 different lenses. No, that's an exaggeration. I think I've got 4 here. And 4 different lenses. And then in my box of tricks I've got 2 GoPros. And strangely enough, something I always carry on around with me, which most people don't, is 2 full courses of malaria medication. And it stays in my Pelican case with my cameras and stuff because they go everywhere with me. What else have I got in my Pelican case? Strange enough, talking about it, I have a laser pointer for mostly looking. Oh, I think the batteries are a bit flat in this. Yes, they are. I've got a laser pointer. I've got various lens cleaning cots, scorpion torch, my normal torch, and various GoPro mounts and spare camera batteries and spare memory cards, as well as a whole host of books. And I've actually had to limit myself. I used to take probably about 20 kilograms of books with me every drive, but I've now learned to limit myself. So this time of the year, can't go anywhere without my butterfly and insect and wildflower books. And what else? I got my frog book as well, also great at this time of the year. Mammal book. And of course, I can't forget the cameraman and the camera when we go on drive. It would be quite difficult to take a live safari without them. Andrew, what do you take on drive? Andrew's got, he calls it his camera bag. It is not a left go Andrew. It is not a camera bag. It is a moon bag, otherwise known as a fanny pack.
Man bag.
It's not a man bag, Andrew, it's a fanny pack. So that's what Andrew takes on drive. And Andrew being Andrew, I do not want to know what's inside that. So no tracks coming out. exciting stuff from Scotty. Scotty's off the vehicle on foot at the moment, and so you're stuck with me. But he's got male leopard tracks that are on top of his game drive tracks from this morning when he went out. So that means they're really fresh. And another positive, it's really close to camp. So guys, keep a lookout on the Juma camp. You never know, the leopard might pop up there for a drink. So Scotty's going for a quick walk to see if he can find that leopard. So his tracks are definitely a lot more fresh than the ones we're following, which are from early last night. So fingers crossed he comes right in that area. So while we keep checking on the edge of the drainage here, let's go have a look at what Uncle Stef's found on bushwalk.
Second, there we go. We're trying to save some battery over here while we're walking around. But the monumental effort of these ants, it's just something that's astounding. These ants are positively microscopic. I'm going to put my finger next to that, and that's my baby finger. Have a look at how tiny they are. Have a look at the enormous excavation, the pit that they've dug at the entrance of their burrow, and testimony to how small they are. Have a look at the size of the sand grains that they're only able to carry. I mean, they basically are carrying pieces of dust. But every now and again, like this one right here, VM, if you can get to this one, you'll see them carrying an enormous rock. I mean, I'm not sure what these ants are actually. They look very similar to fire ants, except for the fact that they're not as long as a fire ant. And fire ants generally live in trees. Here, I know in North America they live on the ground. But I've just absolutely learned something fascinating today. And if you have a look at the size of this excavation, this berm of sand that they've managed to excavate, every one of these sand grains has been taken from here to here by one of these workers' castes and then dropped at the edge of this crater rim. I mean, I cannot fathom how long it's taken to actually do that. Wow, I must be honest with you, quite surprising. But now, while we are sitting over here, I can answer a question that came in just a little bit after we finished with that spider, that garden orb spider, a little bit earlier. It came in from Yana. And firstly, welcome, Yana. And secondly, the answer to your question, firstly, let me tell you a question. The question was, does garden orb spiders make does golden orb spiders, which is a very common relation that we'll see here after Christmas, probably through until about March, do golden orb spiders also have that same zigzag stabilimentum that we saw with the garden orb that we were having a look at just now? The answer to that is no. I've never seen a golden orb spider with a stabilimentum. I've actually only seen garden orb spiders with stabilimentums from the orb spiders that we find over here. I have found other spiders that use stabilimentums. I'm just actually trying to think of one right now. My mind's gone blank. You know, it's one of these things this morning. I must have eaten something last night. It does nothing for my memory. It's definitely managed to give me a gaping hole in it. But in any case, the answer to the question is no. Golden orb spiders absolutely don't make stabilimentums like garden orb spiders do. But thank you very much for that. Something I've been noticing while I've been sitting over here with VM, and on the topic of ants, is grass. Now, grass is one of the most advanced plants on the planet. We're looking at a very, very highly evolved grass or grasses. And this grass here has got something that stops ants, will stop ants from eating the seeds that come out. Now, ants harvest seeds. I've no doubt that these little ants that we're busy having a look at right now are seed harvesting ants. And have a look at the fur that's growing on this grass. I mean, isn't that amazing? That fur that's busy growing on this grass is singularly to stop insects and predominantly ants from crawling up the stem all the way to the top, where the grass will eventually grow and make its inflorescence. And on the inflorescence, where it has its flower, it A, will have some nectar there, which the grass obviously doesn't want to share with crawling insects, and B, it'll produce a seed, and that seed it is also not going to want to share with insects. And so this particular grass, I don't know what grass this is because it hasn't got its flower and it hasn't got its seed yet, is growing and is, I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. And as it gets to the leaf blade, where photosynthesis needs to happen, the fur basically stops, except on the bottom side of the leaf, where the insect will be crawling. So photosynthesis on the top and the bottom, less hair on the top so that more photosynthesis and transpiration can happen, and more fur on the bottom of the leaf so that less insects can use it as a highway. Amazing. And Alyssa has just asked me a very good question. In my opinion, which is more numerous, ants or termites? That's actually a very good question, Alyssa. I've heard reference to two things. One is if you had to all of a sudden sink the continents, barring Antarctica, you will see the outline of every continent in ants on the sea. So if you had to sink the continents into the ocean, you would then see the outline of ants. Can you imagine? And that the biomass, that's the first fact. The second fact is on termites, that the biomass or the total weight of termites in the world is equal to that of the total weight of the biomass of people in the world. Can you imagine? So it's a good question. I don't actually know what the correct answer to that is, Alyssa. All I can say is that I've given you the two facts that I know about the total weight and numbers, and it's for you to judge which one is more numerous. I think they're probably around about even. But on that, we're going to be sending you through to Brent. He's got something to tell you, and we'll catch up in a bit.
Brent actually has nothing to tell you. Brent was just doing a happy dance, and I think that's all it was. We're still in the drainage, and it's such a fantastic, I'm so happy to see the sun after these cloudy days. So we're going to head up the Murakeni drainage line and see what we can find. The last tracks of Shadow were in this area, but she hasn't been seen for a while. It's going to annoy me. Sorry. Doors. There we go. I'm allergic to rattles. Even the slightest one sort of creeps into my head. So these are very interesting things. So a while ago we noticed the incredible amount of moths in the Moati drainage, and I'm hoping they're also in this drainage. So if I'm snapping trees, don't worry, I'm just trying to disturb the moths, see if they're there. And I think I figured out what they are. They're that same little now I've forgotten the name for them. They don't have a common name, but there's little Timberti moths is probably the best name to call them, the ones that cause the jumping beans. So I'm trying to see if I can find them. Fortunately, in terms of beauty, they don't have much. They are very drab little grey moths. Ooh, looks like someone nearly got stuck here after the rain. I'm still waiting to see who's going to win the Pink Spade Award this wet season. So it hasn't been initiated yet, but I'm going to initiate it. So the Pink Spade Award is generally like a little pink bucket and spade that you would get for your child when they go to the seaside. And it's generally for the person who gets stuck the most in mud during the wet season. Although we're in a drought at the moment, so we haven't had too much opportunity to get stuck yet. If we do have a bit of rain, and at the end of the wet season, generally will award the little pink spade and bucket. And quite often, there's two different versions of the Pink Spade Award. So there's the one for getting stuck, and there's a bigger Pink Spade, which doesn't really apply to us, our team here, but when you work in the bigger lodges, quite often a lot of the new guides are quite young and quite single, and you also have lots of ladies who work in different parts of the lodge, kitchen, or the massage therapists, and there's always one ranger who tries the hardest with all the ladies, and he gets an extra big Pink Spade. So I don't know if it's the same in wherever you guys might be watching. And there's a little colloquialism out here. So if you are spading, otherwise digging yourself into a hole, you're generally trying to chat up a lady. So the big Pink Spade goes to the person who's tried the most with the least success with the ladies. So we've got a very, very nice comment from Shell. It says, Stef's being a bit forgetful this morning. He probably needed more coffee. She said, I've had too much coffee. Shell, the scary thing is I don't need coffee to be like this. As I said, when my feet hit the ground, I'm awake. I think I even tackled Andrew before 4:30 this morning. Where'd it go? Oh, there's a coucal in the meantime. There's a Burchell's coucal, but what I did spot, and it's going to land. I command you to land, butterfly. Or don't listen to me. We've got the Burchell's coucal. I'm keeping my eye on the butterfly. He's going to fly in front of the Burchell's coucal. It's disappeared. It was a butterfly we've been asked about a few times. Isn't that awesome? There's the coucal's calling, and its nickname is the rainbird, because they call quite often just before a storm arrives or just after a storm. It's that wonderful chortling call. Come on, call again now. So on cue. Well done, Mr. Coucal. So they're actually quite voracious little hunters, and they hunt insects, and they what they call the skulkers, and you can see they've got quite a prominent bill, and it's hooked there, so they are predators. And there he goes. They are called skulkers, so you quite often find them sort of scrambling through thick grass and undergrowth, hunting for insects and even frogs and small rodents. But unfortunately, the African monarch escaped. It's one of our most common butterflies, but it's the one I'm struggling the most to put on camera, strangely enough. Where did that? There he is, and he's puffed as well. So there's another beautiful little bird. Oh, why are you flying? Where are you going to land? And he's busy displaying at the moment, which makes him more interesting. It's a puffback shrike. The light is terrible there. You got him, Andrew. I'm going to try and get on the other side of that leadwood. Can you see him, Andrew? Oh, that's a wimble. Small movement. I can hear him. Oh, he's right up at the top. Oh, there he goes. Well, unfortunately, that puffback strike has made an escape. So while we continue to check the Marikeni, let's go see what Scotty's up to.
Well, I know Lucy in Columbus was interested to know if there were any updates on Peter in this plan, and there are indeed. Here he is, basking in his glory, and I'm told it wasn't just Lucy, it was many of you interested in the well-being of this animal. Seems to be in good shape, He has his own private health therapist tending to a few wounds, that little oxpecker. And as Tebs zooms in, if you stay on the back half of the body, Tebs, I'm hoping the oxpecker is going to go back there, but even if it doesn't, you'll see two bright pink open wounds, and the oxpecker has been keeping those clean. Look at how many scratches and scars he has on his back. And if Tebs pans to the right very slowly, you'll also notice as you get to the kind of neck area, there's a few other puncture wounds, old scars. They live a rough life, hippos. He's also got a little nick above his eye, and I don't know if that's new. Maybe he had a tussle with another hippo fairly recently. Although when they do get caught up in a battle, they can be left with some seriously large gaping wounds and lots of blood. To Josh in Missouri, and he asked a good question, wondering how many species of hippo do we run into out here. And as far as I'm aware, there's only this hippo, the regular hippopotamus, of which there's only one type. There's no subspecies, but you also get an incredibly cute hippo called a pygmy hippo, which is about the size of a pig. Your average size pigs. Obviously pigs vary greatly in size, but do yourselves a favor, or let me try and do you a favor and try and find the pygmy hippo in my little book. Come on, I hope they've got it in here. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Yes, we're in luck. So let's show you what the pygmy hippo looks like and a little bit about it. Okay. So, they only occur in a few, let me show you that first, in a few tiny spots of West Africa. Liberia, a few places, Ivory Coast, Sierra Leone, Guinea, and an isolated population in the delta of the Niger River in Nigeria. So, far away from where we are. But they do occur, and they're tiny. They're only about a meter tall, and they weigh between about 300 and 400 pounds. Interestingly, it says they're mainly solitary, just like Peter over here, I guess. And it does not spend as much time in water as a common hippopotamus, but is still dependent on it. More interesting information here is that their diet varies quite greatly. Unlike the regular hippo, which feeds primarily on grass, the pygmy hippo will feed on roots and leaves and a much broader variety of vegetation. So there we go, Josh. Glad you asked that question, and we're going to send you across to one of Stefan's favorite predators.
Have a look at this. Of all the animals out here, this is my favorite. While I like hyena and honey badgers in terms of the big stuff, these are my favorite animals. It's the small stuff. This is a jumping spider, and they belong to a family of spiders called the saltistids. And if you use the measure of brain weight to body mass, the ratio of that as a sign of intelligence, these guys have the same brain weight to body mass ratio that we do, even greater than that of a dolphin. Can you believe it? It's just that they don't have such a big brain, and their brain is almost entirely dedicated to sight. They've got binocular vision, as you may be able to see. Can you see his face over here? Okay. There you can see his face. The binocular vision, those two big beautiful eyes right on the front of his face, give him the ability to judge distance. And these guys are prolific fly catchers, one of the other reasons why I absolutely love them. Bees, flies, and funnily enough other spiders. But have a look at the colors on this guy. Isn't it just amazing? Have a look there. Very, very, very good eyesight. probably follow my finger. There you go, you can see him following my finger. Got quite scared, so I'm going to move my finger away. Have a look at the colors on him. And they jump the most unbelievable distances, and they do that all through hydraulic pressure. Their legs are filled with the fluid, and just by using a pump in their body, they pump their legs full of fluid, and that allows them to jump, and they jump the most fantastic distances. He's actually just seen me moving, which is why he moved back there. I mean, these spiders are capable of actually ambushing prey. They actually can learn how to hunt prey in their area. So the same species of spider can hunt a different prey, and that is quite unique for spiders. Mainly just spiders are like that garden orb we saw a little bit later, opportunistic killers. Whereas these salticids can actually learn how to hunt a predominant prey species in an area. Have a look and see if we can get him from here, VM. You can see him on that side. Let me see if I can turn him. Run away. We're going to leave him to carry on with his hunt. Scott is on standby, and we'll catch up with you in a little bit. Thanks for joining us.
Well, this is a bird that I don't think I've managed to show you before. It's a white-headed vulture. And it's one of the larger vultures we get here. And we very seldomly see them. What you'll notice, as Tebs is doing a great job filming through the leaves, as it kind of shows us the underside of its wings, you'll see a white stripe, possibly. Quite a lot of white marking underneath the wing. So keep an eye out for that. You may have seen its white head in the first shots that we got. I don't know of any reason why it would be circling around you. It's probably just that time of the day that vultures start becoming active, as the hot thermals spiraling up off the earth allow them to fly effortlessly. It's busy trying to catch one of those thermals now, not very successfully. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get it out in the book for you. It could very well be a new bird to add to the bird lists. Okay, so the distinctive features here is, let's look at the bottom half of the page. This is where we get the heavy-duty vultures. The leopard-faced, which is the biggest vulture we get, top of the vulture food chain. But then below that, fairly similar looking, is the white-headed vulture. Now, you may have seen that kind of white bar. That's what I was talking about, that white bar that runs through the length of their wing, and also quite a lot of white in general underneath, as opposed to the leopard-faced. It doesn't have nearly as much white, and the head of the white-headed vulture was very white. So there we go. Brent has also just provided us with some incredible information, and he's very excited by the fact that we've seen this bird as well, because last time he checked there was only 12 breeding pairs in the whole of the Greater Kruger National Park. That is a massive, massive area with very, very few of these birds. So, lucky stuff, and very happy that a lot of you will now be able to add a new bird to your bird lists. Hopefully there'll be some meat around here somewhere, and that's what would have caused these vultures to be here in the first place. But you need to remember that wherever vultures wake up every morning, we can't just assume that they had a hearty meal in that same area the night before. They may have flown around and searched, come up with nothing, and just slept wherever was comfortable or closest to them. In this case, in this general area, and they would have been waiting here patiently for things to heat up, like I say, so that they can, rather than flying early in the morning, using a lot of energy, they can just wait until things heat up and move themselves from A to B a lot more effectively. And for an animal that is not really capable, they are capable of hunting to a very small degree, but because they rely so much on other animals' misfortune or other animals' success, lions and leopards' success, or just animals dying of old age, they need to be very, very effective in the way they conserve their energy. Hey, Monkey Man, happy to hear that you are enjoying the birding this morning, and another rare bird after the ground hornbill with Brent a little bit earlier, now to the white-headed vulture. Things are picking up. Sadly, I have no idea where that male leopard went. He could pop out anywhere in this general area, but I've got off following each individual footprint. It's a time-consuming process, and if I was to do that, I'd have to basically wave you guys all goodbye. So, a tricky situation. How much time do we invest in following the tracks as opposed to spending time with you? And it's a very similar problem that guides face with their guests out on safari here. I mean, it depends. I mean, usually you've got a tracker, most camps you go to, so you'll drop your tracker off on the tracks. He can focus on doing his business there, and then you can carry on with the game drive. Obviously, we lack a tracker, so don't have that opportunity. But even sometimes what you'll do is you'll leave all of your guests on the vehicle alone, and you go out with your tracker. Tracking is, for me, it's a team sport. It's not an individual sport. And you need at least 2 or 3 people moving through any given area to track effectively. That is in my opinion. I personally think most lodges are wasting their time putting one person on each vehicle. They should have nobody on the vehicles and just send 2 different cars out with about 5 or 6 trackers on each. And that way you have a full pack of people chasing down the animal you're looking for. And it's really important because as you crisscross through the bush, one of you will be bound to find the next track which will get you closer to that animal. To do it on your own is painstakingly slow, especially through terrain like this, where once you've got off the road, it's slow going following tracks, even for the best trackers. Okay, Siberia Zumi, good morning, and very happy that you sent your request for a blue waxbill, a tiny little bird, but one of my favorites, and I will certainly do my best to try and get you a glimpse of them. There's actually a lot of them around Siberia. It's just the common problem we face with birds, and especially the small ones. A lot of the time it almost doesn't make sense to try and show you them because we're not going to be able to get close enough, or the risk is too high, and most of the time the animal's flown off before we get there. But now okay, this is interesting. I'm just going to stop here initially. I'm not sure which hyena den this is. I mean, which hyena den, which hyena? This is very, very interesting. This doesn't look anything like the mother of this cub. And the only reason I can think it doesn't look like the mother of this cub is because she got beaten up last night. Well, maybe I am wrong, and maybe she just looks dirty, but her ears also look a little bit raggedy. This does not look like the right hyena. I'm not sure what you guys think. You guys often have better views and better comparisons of which hyena is which than I do. The main thing that's causing me to not think it is her is that usually a couple of things, mainly her appearance. She just seems quite sloppy and dirty and not as an immaculate condition. No ways. Nikki's just pointed out a hugely interesting fact. It's a different cub. Well done, Nikki. The cub is too small. This is a different hyena. And she's got that little kind of piece missing on her ear. The cub that usually stays at this den has got more spots, slightly bigger than this little black cub that we're looking at now. It's interesting stuff, and this could well have been one of the hyenas that was attacking the injured hyena yesterday, so all inter-clan. And this is the first time that we've actually seen this hyena at this den. And I'm guessing she would have moved from the old den where we checked initially this morning, off Philemon's cut line. Now you can see that little wedge out of her left ear as she lifted up her head. Now we ask ourselves the question, where has the other hyena gone and its cub? So let's just squeeze forward. Craig's just also joined us here. This one has moved in from Philemon's cut line. And isn't this interesting? You can see she really doesn't look very happy, and I guess she could just be tired, but there's a few little kind of scabs, you could say, or little bits of blood in and around her body, and she was in and amongst this tussle that occurred yesterday early morning. It was an almighty battle that took place between, in all likelihood, the ladies within this clan, and we don't know what would have caused it or who would have instigated it, but what is very interesting is that the following day, after this whole event went down, this hyena that we're looking at has moved its cub to this den. Possibly it feels safer here. And the fact that this hyena started at the communal den with its cub and now has moved away to what we think is a natal den, which is used by one of the sub-adult females, a young female. Kind of, it doesn't make sense. Oh, cute. Look at the youngster crawling up there. You can see by the way the mother's moving, she looks a little bit stiff and painful. So the theory of her coming to this den to give birth doesn't make sense because she has already given birth elsewhere, in all likelihood. Now, I haven't seen the other den, but I am fairly certain that this mother was seen with this cub at the other den site, which was presumed the communal den. There were bigger females in that den, and apparently she had 2 cubs, so I'm not sure if this was the hyena that was delivering the attack to the unlucky individual yesterday, or if it was another female, the mother of the single cub from that den. But a lot of change and unrest within the hyena communities here. I wonder where the flawless young female is, who used to be the main kind of tenant here at this den. It was the only female that I saw here constantly, a flawless young female with a sub-adult and a small cub. Now we've got this old raggedy-eared female and possibly 2 young cubs that she may have brought across here. Very, very interesting. And what's interesting is that on 2 different occasions, some of you got to see the same hyena actually attempting to move her cubs. She would carry them away to a certain spot and drop them down, and then they'd hurtle back to their burrow. So again, interesting behavior that we're not too sure about. It really would be fascinating if another hyena came onto the scene now, or even if both cubs poked their head out. Any little bits of information that we can get will be hugely useful for us in trying to work out what's going on. Or not necessarily work out what's going on, but rather just keep tabs of this interesting story. Now, I did stop in at the Philemon's Cutline den site where this female used to be early this morning. Some of you may have been there to join in on that, and there was no sign of anything there. That's not to say that one of the den sites is not active elsewhere, or simply it was inactive when we got there. Well, if any of you are interested in trying to work out who's who here and what's what, this would be a good opportunity to take a screenshot of this female, and then we will know exactly who she is. And it's that very distinctive notch in her left ear. And the more pictures you guys take and more you keep track and help provide us with those little interesting bits of information like BJ provided us with yesterday, the more insight we'll get into these hyena. Wow. Goobawalla, Kyle, and a lot more are very interested to know if we've got any updates. How cute is that little cub looking at us over its mother's back? A lot of you are interested to know if there are any updates on the injured female, and sadly nothing. I thought that this could be her initially when I first saw her draped at the entrance to this burrow, not looking very happy. But sadly, we have no idea where she is or how she is doing. What I did do is head across to... I've lost my train of thought there, apologies. Sorry, what I was saying is that I did head straight there yesterday afternoon on the Sunset Safari. There was no sign of where we left her, that injured female. But I have been seeing a lot of research done on wounded hyenas and success stories, and I haven't looked at the article yet due to our archaic internet that takes 3 years to download a picture. It makes it difficult for us to look at a lot of the links you send us, and one of those was by a famous kind of hyena filmmaker and wildlife extraordinaire called Kim Wallater, and he has done a lot of work with hyena, filming hyena. And it was something along the lines of the headlines of this article was that he has found a hyena with no back feet and missing both ears. So there is a chance that that hyena that could potentially, well, in all likelihood, it will either lose its life or its back left foot, but it could just lose the foot and the ear and carry on with 3 legs and 1 ear to tell another story. So that certainly is possible, and if that other hyena that Kim Wallater talks about, now again, I haven't seen any footage of it or know too much of the background story, but apparently both back feet gone. And what you'll find with a lot of animal injuries is that they can often be similar. Lions attacking other predators will often go for their spines, so you'll often see a lot of bites on their lower back and also on the legs, the Achilles tendon, the hamstrings. So the bottom and the back legs are often highly persecuted parts of an anatomy when animals are fighting, and you'll probably find that when hyenas are tussling with one another and they get a hold of another one's foot, they enjoy crunching through it. And that's obviously what happened yesterday, and obviously also what happened with the hyena that Kim Wallater found. I think it was somewhere in Botswana. hello to Paul and Shell, and you guys are asking if we can check the other den sites. I'm not sure where Brent is. He can possibly go and check the other den. There's another 2 dens that we know of that are kind of, or actually 3, that are frequently used. One off Aubrey's Road, the one we are at here, which is Gallagher Shortcut Road, another one off Philemon's Cut Line, that's the 3rd, and then the 4th off Rebecca's Zoe's Junction. So those are the 4 most active den sites that are on the property. I know Brent, I think, did check the Rebecca Zoe's one earlier on. I checked the Philemon's Cut Line one. So the only one that's missing is the Aubrey's den sites. I'm happy to go there right now with all of you to see what's going on. Such interesting stuff happening. But that obviously means leaving here. Maybe we'll stay here, and if Brent's nearby to another den, he can go. Otherwise, it'll have to be this afternoon. Hello, Ellen Fowler, and I wish I could answer your question. I don't know where the second cub is. We've just got a glimpse of one. I mean, we could have possibly seen both of them already, and just not been able to distinguish between the 2, but they are hopefully both down in that burrow. Now, the bird that we can hear calling always calls here, and I cannot believe it, but I've forgotten what kind of bird it is, and it's killing me. And I almost think that it's got a nest somewhere in this buffalo thorn tree that's above the hyena den. It sounds like it's so close to us, and it could probably be calling from its nest. It's a tiny bird. I thought it was a green-backed Cameroptera, which has got a kind of bleating call, similar to 2 marbles being clinked together. But I'm not convinced that is the one. So I just want to check one other option quickly. So yes, Jennifer, I can confirm with the help of Nikki and a lot of the other viewers who have been fortunate enough to see the hyena den sites or Philemon's Cut Line active, that this is indeed the female who has been trying to move her cubs. She's the mother of the twins. And Jennifer, look very closely. You'll see that notch out of her left ear. That's a diagnostic feature. And she must have arrived or brought her cubs here yesterday. Maybe sooner than that, but as far as we're aware and from what we've seen, this is the first time that she's been here in the recent past. Sacro, thank you very much for your suggestion as to what kind of bird this could be. You said bar-throated palace. I thought it was possibly a tawny flank prinia, and I'll just play the call for you now. So kind of similar, and bird calls will vary slightly depending on the area that you're in. Let me play the bar. I'm going to play the call for the bar-throated palace now. Not quite right, I don't think. Oh, another hyena's popped out. That's great news. So I don't think the bar-throated palace is correct. But thank you very much for sending that suggestion through. At this stage, I'm still fairly confident it is the tawny flank prinia. What I'd like to do is play the call of the greenback Cameroptera for you. And hello everyone, how are you guys doing? Yeah, very good, very good. Sorry, I've been very focused, so I haven't said hello yet. But have a good morning, and hopefully we'll see you around. Okay, bye. Sorry, there's just some WildEarth viewers SafariLIVE viewers that were behind us in the sighting there, but I was so focused on this exciting action that I forgot to say hello to them, so I just tried to squeeze that in before they headed off. Okay, sorry, one last thing that I wanted to do was play the Cameroptera call for you. So kind of similar in a... You see, that's what I'm looking for, that chip, 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 chip. Yeah, for me it's either a greenback Cameroptera or the tawny flank Prinia. Oh, I can hear one of the hyena cubs squealing out there. Let's see if Mom reacts. Just very slightly. It's windy, so it's going to be hard for you to hear, but I could hear a very gentle whining. Virginia in Kentucky. Good to have you on board. I'm glad you asked your question because it opens up quite interesting kind of facts differentiating predators and herbivores. And the question was, are hyena cubs born blind or with their eyes closed? And yes, they are. And most predators will be born in a very underdeveloped state, which is called an altricial state. They're born weak, clumsy, blind, and absolutely helpless. And this is important because their parents require to be active, and often highly active, hello cutie, in order to be able to catch their prey. And that's why it makes sense to take a risk in giving birth to a very young and vulnerable cub that you can have a bigger chance of defending or tucking away in a safe den site than impala would be able to, or an elephant would be able to. Those animals, the prey animals or the herbivores, don't have the privilege of being able to catch their, or don't have the privilege of being able to tuck their babies away into a safe place, but they do have the privilege of being able to eat easily. Their food doesn't run away from them, so they can take the risk and carry their young for a much longer period of time so that when they do give birth to it, their eyes are open, they can run, and they can fend for themselves, which is imperative for their survival. And that's called precocial, when animals are born more ready for life. Leopards, lions, hyena, all for the first probably 8 days to 12 days of their life will be blind. And tiny little furballs, look at this. It's begging its mom for something to drink. And mom cannot resist but put a smile on her face. That little cub is twitching with excitement. Something, oh, look at that. It's a pygmy kingfisher in the background, Tebs. Well spotted, Nikki. I didn't know what was going on there. And this is fascinating. I can't see what the bird is sitting on. And is it on the tree behind or is it on the actual den? It's a bit of a... This is awesome. I think this is the first pygmy kingfisher. Sorry, little hyena cub, you've been upstaged. But there it is, the kingfisher and the hyenas. Well done, Nikki. She spotted them in the final control room. I saw a blur of movements and couldn't work out what it was. I thought it could have been the ear of the other hyena cub. That's a rare bird that I don't think we've managed to catch on camera yet for you. And who knows, there's a possibility that that bird could be nesting within a small cavity within this very same termite mound. They do nest in holes in the ground and often use termite mounds and the burrows within them. And it's a migratory bird, that's why we haven't seen many. They only returned about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago from the central parts of Africa. Sadly, Tebs was at full zoom. He couldn't get you any closer to it. Let's see if we can't reposition the vehicle and get you a better view because they are exceptionally good-looking birds. as we get into a better spot, we're going to send you to the bushwalk for another great view of something else.
And from baby hyena to this acacia, myself and VM were led here by the most beautiful perfumey smell, this real floral smell. And this acacia is just absolutely inundated in fruit chafers. Everywhere here, they are just swimming through the flowers at the moment, busy eating the pollen. As a common fruit chafer, and almost every single flower on this tree has got something on it. Have a look at that. See if I can grab it here, stabilize it a little bit better so that you can see exactly what these fruit chafers are doing when I mean swimming through the pollen. Have a look at them just eating those flower heads. I mean, obviously the tree is attracting them through just providing this most beautiful perfume and provides an abundance of flowers. So although some flowers get eaten, a lot of flowers don't, and that dusts these fruit chafers with pollen, and then they go to the next tree that is flowering and then in turn repollinate the flower of the next tree with this one's pollen. Have a look at them grabbing the flowers into their mouths. This one's just gobbling it up. Isn't that amazing? Now here there at the hyena den, you are having, here's something I want to show you. It's one I haven't seen before, a fruit chafer I haven't seen before. This is something that's going to be for the record books, is this one right here. Sorry, Vali. This one with the purple sheen on it. Have a look at that. That's a fruit chafer that we don't find here in the books. Have a look at those colors, just purple and brown and black. Oh, there we go. Well, on that note, we are going to be going back to Scott at the hyena den, and thank you.
Well, very happy that you got some action-packed insects with Stef, and also very, very happy that this African pygmy kingfisher with its violet cheeks is still sitting here for us. And they're tiny little birds. I mean, the size of a golf ball at the most. Obviously not the shape of a golf ball, slightly squashed. But very, very pretty. And I've got a feeling that it could very well be nesting within this burrow alongside the hyenas. What an incredible thing that would be to see. A beautiful bird like that coming out of this very same hole as the hyenas. Now, I've heard you've just seen a purple fruit chafer, and that's why I'm paging through my insect book, seeing if I can't find a purple one for you to help you and Stef identify it, but I can't seem to find a purple one in the book. And that is the interesting thing about insects, and the tricky thing for us is that a lot of the beetles and bugs don't actually occur in the books, which makes it difficult to identify. Anyway, no luck there. Rosie in the UK, just to clear up the confusing hyena antics that have been happening here. What we think has happened is that the hyena that had the first cub on SafariLIVE since we've started this project in November last year. So there was one hyena with her cub, and that cub was named Bella by some, other names by others. I've lost track. Either way, that was the cub that we viewed in November, December, and January last year at the Rebecca's Zoe's den site. That was the den site that was active then. And yes, we think it was her, the mother of that cub, that was attacked yesterday. And the reason why we think that it is her is because the small cub that was following her has identical spot patterns to the cub that was seen in December last year. And that was thanks to BJ and a few other viewers that sent us through some comparison screenshots. So a lot has changed since then. They've moved to different dens. That's not abnormal. Hyenas will move from one communal den to another every month or so. Females who are lower ranking will move to natal dens, and this is what I feel this one is. It's a very young female that was here at first with her cub, and the other den, which seemed to be more active with older, therefore more established females, you would assume to be the communal den, and at the moment that was off Philemon's cut line. And at that den it was this female with a notch in her left ear, 2 cubs, and another female with single cubs. And it was either this female or the other female from yesterday, or the other female with the single cub, not the one from this den, not the young female, the older female. It was one of these 2 that delivered the savage blows to the other hyena, the old hyena. Guys, I hope that makes sense. It is all quite complicated. We need to number them, and that way we'll be able to keep track of who they are a little bit better. I think numbers will be better than names for now, initially, because there are so many of them. Now, Alyssa, the reason why this female has all of a sudden decided to bring her cubs to this den, it's hard to say why. I mean, obviously it's a safety perspective. She feels like it's safer here than the other den. And the fact that it's coincided with the fight from yesterday means that it very well could have a direct result. Maybe the hyena that got hurt yesterday, the old queen, we could assume, used to help defend this individual hyena from the other one that overthrew it yesterday. So, Alyssa, I don't know, but I mean, it makes kind of logical sense to assume that it's moved it for safety, not on a holiday. And maybe that female that won the battle yesterday, that taught the other hyena a lesson, has now got a very different attitude and a very different outlook to the rest of the clan now that it knows that it is queen, and it knows that it's the top of the roost, and it will then act accordingly. So interesting stuff, Alyssa, but I cannot give you the exact answers as to why she would have moved here, but like I said, logical explanation would be that it is safer here. What's going to be interesting is if on future inspections this afternoon we can try and work out if the other female, the young female, is still here, or if in fact the older female that we can see here now has actually chased her off, and maybe she doesn't feel safe. The old female that was here now has had to move to another den. That is possible, but no guarantees, and we'll just have to spend a lot more time snooping around the hyena den sites over the next few days, which we're already trying to do. It's a tricky thing though, because you don't want to spend too much time invested on one thing, because you can come up with nothing. We already did check all the den sites this morning, and thankfully this one was active with an awesome surprise. What would be the cherry on the top, like Ellen Fowler and a lot of you are wanting to know, would be if both of the cubs that belong to this female popped up and played around for us. As I said, it could be that they've been popping out and just taking turns. While we wait, what I would like to show you is the difference between a malachite kingfisher and a pygmy kingfisher. Is Nicky trying to get a hold of me, Tebs? Nicky, I can't hear you. I don't know what's going on. Okay, well, let me just show you this quick, and then we will send you across to Brent. The top right is the malachite kingfisher. That is not what we were looking at, and the distinctive thing to look for is that little blue crown on its head extends till over its eye, okay? It lacks a violet patch around its ear or cheeks, whereas if we look at the pygmy kingfisher, which is here, it has only a blue cap right on the top of its head. It doesn't extend over the eye. Difficult to see with such small birds, but that's what you're looking for, as well as the violet cheek. Very good stuff, and we are now going to send you across to another flying animal with Brent.
The problem with flying animals is they quite often fly away, and that's what happened there. It was a butterfly, one we've seen before, called the African migrant. So awesome that the hyena den's so active, and it's really fascinating to try to figure out what's going on there. But I'm not going to keep your time for too long. I'm sure you can't wait to get back to those hyenas. So from Andrew and myself, thanks for joining us, and don't forget to join us on the Sunset Safari. We'll see you later.
Well, I hope you guys are enjoying Brent's new quest to become the butterfly expert here on Djuma. Sadly, it appears that just like the birds, the butterflies are often flying away before we can get you the shots. And that was probably as a result of me showing you the malachite kingfisher, so apologies, Brent, for missing out on your butterfly quest. Well, what a morning it's been. A little bit slow, but it's nice to just take it easy with you guys on safari and not be permanently racing around from A to B in search of action, which is always what we plan to do, but the reality of that happening is slim, and it's good that it stays that way, because that way you get to take a look at the closer details of a lot of different animals. I'm sure a lot of you enjoyed being on bushwalk with Stef. It sounds like you had some great sightings. That golden orb-web spider with the fly and the grasshopper, I would have liked to have been there for that. Anyway, I will be able to watch the highlights, I guess. Hopefully this afternoon we'll be able to track down this male leopard who's lurking somewhere on Central Djuma, but no luck with that. Anyway, a big thank you for all of your contributions, questions, thoughts, and it's always good to have you on safari. Look forward to the afternoon. I'm not entirely sure who is going to be out, but James is going to be back, so there's a chance he will be out on safari with all of you. Well, just for the rest of the time this morning, we're just going to take a look at this hyena and hope that the cubs come out to play. There's still 2.5 more minutes. I couldn't hear what Nikki was saying to me, so I panicked. So we can carry on chatting. I thought there was a lot less time. Well, as I arrived at the sighting, the first thing that threw me off, that this wasn't the hyena we were looking for, the usual mother of this den, was the position that it's lying in. And usually what happens is the hyena that is normally here lies against the tree, which is just above where this current hyena is. And you can see it there up to the left of the head. And she usually lies against that tree over here, kind of like right against it. So I've never seen her lying in that spot that we can see over here. And Marilyn, I don't think that she's lying there to protect her cub, more so than being comfortable. And what I found with hyena, and it's quite interesting, is that once they've found their spot that they like and that they find comfortable, that is the spot that they will most often be in. So we'll probably find that this female is going to continue to adopt this same spot and position. And the other female, Tebs, I'm going to ask you actually to zoom in there. You can actually just see, I mean, it's above her head where that tree comes out of the ground. There's a very, very smooth sandy patch there, and that's where the other female usually lies, almost exactly in the same spot. You can see how the grass is bent away there. So they do like their set spots, wherever they get comfy. Well, it is now time to say goodbye, and thanks again. Well done to Nikki and Louise in the final control room, and thanks Tebs for your great camera work. We will see you all on the sunset safari. May it be a good one.